The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the producers and the individuals appearing on this program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the staff of the Sun Prairie Media Center, its members or underwriters, the board members of the Media Center Commission, Charter Communications, TDS Telecom, or the staff and elected officials of the City of Sun Prairie.
Hello and welcome to Real Reviews. My name is Jamison Rabbit, and today I'm joined by a special guest. While Mike is off on assignment, I am joined by my good friend, Mr. Scott Busse. Sir, thanks for being here.
Yeah, not a problem. It's good times.
This is going to be a fun one.
Yeah.
Scott is making his debut as a film critic.
Yes, we'll see how this goes.
Mike, you better watch yourself.
Yeah, right.
So this week we have several films on the marquee, but first I'm going to get us started with our streaming spotlight. We go back to Netflix this week. There's a movie that dropped with a big star in it. It is The Red Sea Diving Resort. Stars Chris Evans, as well as Greg Kinnear, Ben Kingsley, Haley Bennett. But it's a movie that's inspired by actual events, took place in the late 70s. Israel's Mossad agents, led by Captain America himself, attempt to rescue all these Ethiopian Jewish refugees that are stuck over there. And it's set in this war-torn Sudan area. And this team has to figure out a way to smuggle all these refugees to safety. There's thousands of them. Get them out of the country, get them to safety. And they come up with this plan of using this abandoned resort as a front to get all these people in there and then get them out of there by sea. The rebel commander in the area doesn't like this idea. He does not want that happening on his watch. And his brutal regime kind of is capable of murdering all these people. And it's just basically events of, can they get them out? Do we keep the team going? Do we keep this front going? You know, and it kind of builds in suspense as things start to come down to crunch time. What'd you think of Red Sea Diving Resort?
Well, I actually was pleasantly surprised with it. I thought it was a very good movie. There's a great story behind it, like you said. And if you put yourself back in 79 into 80,
Yeah.
And trying to get the Jewish
The refugees?
the refugees out
Yeah.
and stuff like that. The plan to get that diving school in Leeset was, so far-fetched, and then to have the mistake of them giving the brochure
Right.
and actually having live guests come
Like,
and
yeah,
you're
just
like,
actual
what
tourists.
is happening? Yeah, it was tourists, but it actually is what was the blessing in disguise with I think to keep the whole thing going.
Yeah.
Like they got 17 missions.
It's
off
pretty
with
wild
that.
to do it like you're not hiding. You're doing
Right
it right out
there.
in your face. Like they'd never look for us right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, I thought it was a little bit slow for me at the beginning. It was just kind of like a lot of I'm not sure what was happening. Like it wasn't exciting right away, but then it picks up when they get to the diving school and
Right.
stuff like that. Then I was got really kind of interested and it picked up momentum from there.
I think it really showed, like, Chris Evans is a really good actor outside of superhero movies.
Yeah.
He's a movie star. So I'd mentioned, I think, this to you when I was talking about us doing this movie. There's a movie that came out a few years ago, Ben Affleck directed and starred in, called Argo, which is really similar. It's also based on real events where this team had to go in and try and save all of these. I believe it was in Iran in the late 70s as well, and how to save all of the diplomats and stuff that lived there. And they came up with the idea of, we're going to form a movie company, say we're there to make a movie, and then we'll get these people, sneak them out of there.
Right.
Feels very much the same.
Yeah. I
I-
have one question though. Is this so at the end when it's the last mission and they're taking off? What happened to all the people that was at the resort? I mean, it was just it ended. It was everything's happy. It was well, you got guests that are still at that
There's a busload
resort.
of tourists there.
Do the rebels go back, and what happens
Oh,
from
they probably
there?
got slaughtered.
So it was I was I was like, huh, I wonder what that was happy. If that was a happy ending or not.
Yeah. I like the tension in the final act of the movie. Like, it really got intense.
It did, and it picked up. I think this was one of the movies where, like, I watched it the first time, and I was just like, okay, it's good. It was kind of slow at the beginning, but I rewatched it, and rewatching this one was a lot better.
Was it?
For me, it was a lot better because
Sure.
I knew what kind of how the ending was happening, so I was able to, focus a little bit more what they were saying and stuff like that in the beginning. And
Interesting.
yeah,
So
I liked it better the second time.
what did you end up giving Red Sea Diving Resort?
I gave it a 4. It was
Yeah.
a great. I think it was a great story to be told. It was a movie well done. I liked the acting. It was just a little bit slow, like for the first time, really not knowing anything about anything with it. It just took a little bit until they got to the diving center to
Sure.
get there. So I gave it a solid 4, but
Nice.
it's definitely a great movie.
Yeah, I gave it 3 out of 5. I enjoyed it. It was fun. Maybe I'll rewatch it again, see if it's
I liked it better the second time.
Yeah, that happens a lot. So if that sounds interesting to you, we'll find it on your Netflix. It's right there waiting for you. Let's get into what we have on the marquee. And this week, I'm going to start us off with a movie that I saw. It is the newest film from A24. It's a film called The Farewell. If you don't know, A24 is my favorite production company. I love them. They do everything great. They just had Midsummer earlier this year. It was great. This one is from director Lulu Wang. It stars Awkwafina. And it's about a Chinese family discovers that the grandmother, like the family matriarch, living in China, is dying from cancer. She's given a couple of months to live. But the family doesn't want to tell her about this. They know she doesn't know. And so they all, as a family, decide we're not going to tell her. It's better if she just doesn't know and she can enjoy her last months without being stressed. And Awkwafina plays the granddaughter who's living in America. She finds out she's really close to her grandma, and she does not understand why they would do this. Why won't you tell her? And so she's just bewildered by it. So that the family kind of brings everyone together in China under the guise of one of the grandkids getting married, even though he's only been dating this girl a couple of months.
Okay.
But this is how we're going to explain why everyone's suddenly in China hanging around grandma. We'll say it's for a wedding, And it's a movie about cultural differences and about dealing with death and a culture of withholding truths from family. And the way they make it is like, this is how we deal with it. Americans deal with it one way. We protect feelings and we like to keep up appearances. And even if we don't always tell the truth about it. And so everyone is basically in the family has secrets that they're holding from each other. And you see that, well, this is just a cultural thing. And you just kind of bury painful things and never talk about it. But I really enjoyed this movie. Awkwafina, who I've seen in a couple of movies. She's always in comedic films. She was really good in this serious role. I really like that. And I mean, there's probably partially because a lot of this echoed some things that I'm going through in my life right now with my grandmother. And even though my grandma's not Chinese, she reminded me very much of this grandma in a lot of her mannerisms and stuff. Yeah. I was wiping tears away at the end of the movie. Like, man, it's funny, it's sweet. It's a really enjoyable movie, and it's based on director Lulu Wang's real life and situation that she went through. So it's really interesting, and I would recommend it. I gave The Farewell 4 out of 5 stars. So if you can find it, I recommend going to check it out. The next movie, sir. This is a movie that this is near and dear to your hearts. This is a rare treat for us to have a film that you know something special about. The film is The Meanest Man in Texas, from director Justin Ward. Stars, I didn't know this until afterwards. It stars his son. He cast his son as the lead. Mateus Ward as Clyde Thompson. And you've been telling me about this movie for a while. I've been like following the events of this movie for a while because it's family.
This is my family. This is my great uncle and my great aunt.
Yeah.
And what's funny with it is, I didn't know her as Julia.
Okay.
I know her as Aunt Hessie.
Huh.
And so, like, when they said everybody was talking about Julia, I'm like, well, who's Julia? I was like, that's Aunt Hessie. I'm like, so it was interesting. I just grew up never, knowing it. But yes, this is my family.
So it's a movie. Interesting thing I found was that the writer, Don Humphrey, has spent 39 years trying to get this movie made. wrote the book, and he's been trying and trying and trying. Finally got it made. And the story is about this young man, Clyde, who in Texas in the late 20s.
Yeah, I think it was 28.
28 he's sentenced to death for murdering a couple of guys, and the way he got into murdering them is really shady.
Yeah,
Tricked into murdering them, basically.
Basically, and then, like they said, it was because the other family had money and was able to buy the kids basically off, and my uncle took the rap for it. I mean, he had his part in there, but it literally probably could have been self-defense.
Right.
With it, but. Yeah, it was a great movie. I think it was a great story.
I think the story is incredible, and he's the meanest man in Texas because he's there for murder, and then he keeps getting life sentences tacked onto him for things that are happening within the prison cell, within the prison camp. We also have the mean old warden, Captain Colt, who is really a hard man who enjoys punishment.
Yep.
And really works him over, and he's kind of a sadistic prison guard type of guy.
Yeah, I mean that when you watch this, you really see that it took my Uncle Clyde from what he was. He was just a boy basically.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, they kind of says that this place will turn you into rattlesnake skin, and it does. It's just that prison just made you as hard as it could be and stuff like that.
So it's a redemptive story.
Yes.
Clyde, after years and years in prison, has this romance with Julia, and she really fights for him and kind of keeps his morale going.
Yeah, and seeing that with this movie, it doesn't really show that much as far as like the family goes. And if you read the book, it goes into more detail about like really the beginning of like the movement of what my aunt did. Of women's rights and what all like it kind of shows in the movie like her sending like a letter and talking to a person and to get them off of like the death row and get them out. This was years of letter writing and talking to people and just dedicated hard work, and for a woman to do what she was able to do in that time period was pretty amazing.
Right. Yeah.
So. Yeah, I thought that I wish it would have been able to touch upon that a little bit more with that. I was able to talk to Shirley, which is their daughter.
Oh, wow. Okay.
My cousin.
Yeah.
And I just kind of asked her in preparation to this, it's like, was there anything that you would like want people to know that about the movie that either didn't happen or what it didn't? They said the biggest thing was there's a scene, it's the baptism scene. He was not sprinkled. He was actually fully submerged and baptized. But after the production had gone through, it was too late to go back and redo the scene.
Sure.
So he was fully baptized. And then a lot of they wanted to do with the stories that they could only touch a little bit on was basically a budgeting.
Yeah.
Budgeting problems and stuff like that. So had they had a little bit bigger budget and stuff, they would have been able to do a little bit more.
I was hoping this movie would be a little more gritty. Like, we see some things, but it felt like it was like, I don't know, maybe they were pulled back on like what made him as grizzled as he was from a young man. The other thing was, this irritated me. I watched this movie a couple times now.
Yeah.
Is Mateus Ward.
Yeah.
He's the director's kid. This movie takes place over a pretty expansive amount of time.
Yeah.
He still looks like he's like 17 years old.
Right.
He's supposed to be like a 40-year-old.
They gave him a little bit of gray hair.
A little bit, but he's supposed to be like a 40-year-old. I've been in prison for years. It's changed me, but he still looks like a 17-year-old kid in this.
Yeah.
I was like, man, we couldn't age him up a little bit? Give him a goatee or something. Like something like that. I don't know. I think it's a really compelling story. And because of your passion for this, and you've been talking to me about this, I went online and I'm reading different things about it, and I really want to read the book. I really want to read the novel now because I think the story is great. I wish that the movie it felt like the director was a little overmatched with how to
put it all together and put the storylines together.
Yeah.
I mean, so a lot of it was just like the prison parts and stuff like that. And I know like when my stories that my mom used to tell me, it was basically like when he was in that solitary confinement, there was only a little bit of light that did come in. So when he got the Bible, he could only read it at certain parts of the day because it's only the light would come in there. And when they let him out, there was a ring around the entire thing from him pacing, like in the concrete.
Yeah.
It actually smoothed out
Oh, yeah.
the bar to that. And the other story is that he used to let the cockroaches were his pets.
Yeah.
And because, as you saw when he was eating, you can't really clean yourself or nothing like that. So they would come and eat all the stuff, and he'd let them, and that's how
Help him groom.
And stuff like that, which they obviously didn't show any of that stuff like that. But
yeah, I want to go pick this book up now and really read a lot of the more, because obviously there's going to be more in that than is in it'll fit in the movie. I think that the director Justin Ward, I was looking him up. Outside of this, he's directed basically UFC specials.
Yeah.
What a weird combination.
Right. Yeah. And like I said, the message with this is he went in that to prove that there was no God.
Mm-hmm.
And his message was when he came out is that he couldn't prove that there wasn't by reading the Bible, and that's why he wanted. It was so good that the book was made, and this is getting out for what he is preaching and stuff like that, letting through and what his works were done. Yeah, I'm very happy that this was done.
So the families, that's the big question. Is like, how's the family feel?
Great. As far as we were super excited for the longest time. It was just on those small screens and stuff, and so a lot of family we couldn't go see it. So through the works and everything that was happening, then all of a sudden the DVD became available. So we got that, and now it's on the Amazon Prime.
Oh, cool.
So you can go on to Amazon Prime and run it and watch it now. So now it's a thing. So, but the family likes it. Like I guess they were saying, like the farmhouse scenes and stuff like that were pretty spot on. I was like, that's my childhood right there. It actually was
cool.
good. So yeah, they were happy with the production and the way it came out.
All right. So what did you give The Meanest Man in Texas?
I gave it a 5. It's my family.
You're not biased.
No, I'm not biased at all. But I did think that it was done really good for the budget that they had and stuff like that. A little long in some parts and stuff like that, but I think overall.
I had some problems with some of the editing in there, whatever. And I'm a jaded movie watcher now.
Right.
So, I gave it a 2.5 out of 5, like in the middle.
Yeah.
But it does lead me to really wanting to. I'm going to track down this novel now and read it.
Right.
So that's really cool. It's a good story.
Yes.
For sure.
Yep.
So good job introducing that movie.
Thank you.
The last movie we have on the marquee this week is the big one. It's The Rock. It's Jason Statham. It is a Fast and Furious story called Hobbs Shaw from director David Leitch. He's the guy who brought us Deadpool 2, and along with that brought us a couple guys for cameos in this movie. But it is The Rock and Jason Statham are Hobbs and Shaw. These are two guys who've worked together in the past in the previous Fast and Furious movie. They don't like each other, but they're brought together to track down a super virus that has been stolen by a rogue MI6 agent. And after much back and forth and verbal jabbing, they form this kind of contentious relationship to save the world. Well, if I'm going to save the world, it's got to be by me. I love these back and forth with them. And they find out that the carrier of the virus is actually Shaw's sister, played by Vanessa Kirby, and that there's a genetically enhanced villain, played by Idris Elba, who is after her. And he has the strength of, 5-10 men, something like that. He's throwing motorcycles around. He's flipping trucks over. He's doing all these things. He has special, special vision where he calculates the percentages of what's going on. And he's got super reflexes and such. He's kind of unstoppable. And throughout the majority of the movie, he makes Hobbs and Shaw look foolish. It was kind of interesting to see fight scenes where The Rock is just not hitting people. He's just getting thrown around. I wasn't expecting this. And then we go to Samoa. And you've seen this in the trailers. There's a whole lot of outlandishness when we get to Samoa. But it's a movie. We got a super virus and we got to save things. And we're going to try and punch our way out of it and see what happens. Oddly enough to me, this movie, I think the first half of the movie was really fun.
Yes. Absolutely.
Especially the interactions between these two. They have a great comedic chemistry.
Yep.
And I really liked all that. We also, Ryan Reynolds is in this movie, and he's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
He's just ridiculous. And I liked all that. when we got to Samoa, man,
we had to
things
go to
got
Samoa.
ridiculous.
We had to go to Samoa.
Things got a little silly.
Yeah.
And I know, like, these Fast and Furious movies, they're always like, oh, it's, physics don't matter in these. Cars can jump however high they need to jump, and cars can do magical things. I don't know. I have a hard time.
Well,
I have a hard time suspending that much disbelief with things.
Like you said, in the beginning of the movie and stuff like that. I mean, obviously, you're in a superhero action movie type setting stuff. So, yeah, cars are going to be doing things, fight scenes, but there's always that kind of realm, well, this could happen.
Right.
But when you go to Samoa, there are things that you just can't say, this could happen. and it's just where it gets to the ridiculousness part of the action, where it's just like, you're really outstretching and trying to do something that doesn't need to be done.
Right. I mean, did you have fun with Hobbs and Shaw?
I did. I was expecting a better ending, and that's the problem. Is the movie was great, almost 3/4 of the way. But just when we kind of got to that Samoa part, it was just such a for me, it was a letdown.
I agree.
It just kind of ends on a, why did it do this?
So I saw this movie twice.
Okay.
And man, I was dreading the end both times. And here's the weird part: like, there's a fight in this where, I mean, Idris Elba's character, he's superhuman. He's, like I said, he's throwing motorcycles around. But then our fight scene at the end, where he can punch a hole through a car, but he's punching these regular humans. I know The Rock's a big dude, but these guys are like just getting up and grinning, like, boy, and then he gets hit once, and he's like, oh, I'm all shaking. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
How many punches to the head can you take from this guy?
Right.
And there's a lot of just disbelief of what can happen with a car.
Well, and the weather.
And the
weather.
Of course, it turns date. That's what I nitpick that, but it drives me nuts when a scene goes, like, suddenly, this is the final scene. It's got to be dark and raining now.
And boom, there it is.
I know it was noon a minute ago.
I know, right?
I felt this movie just felt too long. It's like 2 hours and 20 minutes long.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be 2 hours and 20. You cut 20 minutes out of somewhere in there and fix some things. I think it could have been really good and really fun.
Right. They just try to do too much of, like, when they went to Samoa, trying to fill in the backstory of why the brothers didn't get along. So it was like almost like, let's pause the other movie that was having
stop the movie cold.
Going. It's just like, then let's go back to the
family drama
time, and it was just like,
you don't do that in the third act.
No, you don't. And
we're hurtling to a finish.
Yeah,
let's stop.
Let's
get to know some things.
We're gonna get to the huggy parts of things.
Yeah, it's weird because I got a little bit bored there for a minute.
Yep.
And then I just started laughing out loud at some of the things that were happening. And not like laughing out loud in a great way.
No, I was like, what are you doing?
Well, this is stupid. But they're going to keep making these movies, like it or not. And I'd rather watch another Hobbs and Shaw movie than another Fast and the Furious movie.
Yeah.
It's fun. I like the whole cast. I liked everybody in this movie.
And there were some references back to, like, the Fast and Furious things, but you don't have to see any of the Fast and Furiouses to enjoy the Hobbs and Shaw movie. So you can just pick up right from there, not having to see any of the other movies as a back.
Have some fun with it.
Yeah.
What did you end up giving Hobbs and Shaw, sir?
I gave it a 3.5. A great beginning. I liked the action stuff with it, but we had to go to Samoa.
Right. Yeah, I'm somewhere in between a 3 and a 3.5, kind of wandering back and forth. So I give it the lower score for now, 3 stars out of 5. It is fun. It's worth watching. There's a lot of good laughs in the first half of it for sure. So worth checking out. All right, now summer is coming to an end, sir. Now, we did this movie very quickly a couple weeks ago, and I did not like how we did it. So for our camp throwback this week, we return to Wet Hot American Summer with director David Wayne. So this is set on the last day of camp in 1981. These counselors are trying to complete some unfinished business out at Camp Firewood. Camp director Beth, played by Janine Garofalo, is trying to keep order while also discovering her own romance with a nerd that she meets. It's kind of some quintessential camp hijinks, kind of a meatball style thing of camp counselors just doing things and nobody is monitoring the kids. Poor kids are just dying left and right, I think. And then the movie is building to the big talent show at the end. It's a little bit insane.
This is a hot mess.
Yeah?
This is what this was.
Tell me about it. What do you got?
Well, I wasn't sure if I was watching Stranger Things 3 or if it was in the right movie here with all the kissing scenes going at the very beginning. I guess I forgot how important French kissing
big time
was
stuff.
in the 80s.
Oh, come on.
You know, and no, it was all over the place. I had a hard time following it at first.
You get a guy talking to a soup can.
Yeah, what's that about? You know, and
yeah.
I guess it was probably not a movie that I would normally watch. Or I'd probably shut this one off just because it was just absurd.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks. You know, it wasn't quite Alabama Moon.
Yo, boy, that's the one to look out for.
Yeah, but we were close to like Ping Pong Summer with this one.
See, I like this movie more every time I watch it. I have seen this movie several times over the years. Like it a little bit more. It's like Bradley Cooper's first movie.
I
barely
was
recognizable.
Yeah, I know. I was shocked with that. I did rewatch that today, and I will agree that watching it the second time, knowing what kind of movie I was getting into now, made it a little bit better.
Pretty soon you'll be watching it on the regular.
Well, there's a second one.
There's a series that they made.
Is it? Well, it says like coming back 10 years later. I just saw it on Netflix,
so it's like a Netflix little short series.
Is that
I think.
Okay.
Like 6-episode little Netflix series. That one wasn't as good. I didn't care for that.
No.
Much. But yeah, I mean, I liked Christopher Maloney, who I loved on Law and Order SVU, as the psycho cook in this. Yep. I was like, hey, he can be kind of funny.
Yeah.
And kind of scary.
That soup can was pretty funny. That I was.
Yeah. So Wet Hot American Summer, you know, it's an acquired taste, I think.
Yeah. If you know what you're kind of going into, you want to kill some time, 2 hours of your life that you never want to get back, watch this movie.
Fair enough, sir. Let's take a look ahead at what is coming soon. We have a bunch of movies coming out the week of, on October 14th, we have a sequel coming out. Angry Birds 2 is coming out.
No.
Well, I know you're excited for that.
Yeah,
right? And then October 16th, we have a few movies. First one, we saw the trailer for this the other night, 47 Meters Down, Uncaged. I didn't know this, but both Sylvester Stallone and Jamie Foxx's daughters are the stars of this.
Ooh.
Yeah, kind of interesting. I saw them on the Today Show the other day.
All right.
Yeah. I'm a sucker for shark movies, but I don't like this movie. I don't like the first one, and this one looks like garbage to me.
Yeah, I feel the same way with you. I love shark movies if they're done right.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to get that done right too.
Yep.
And
this one missed.
Yep.
We'll see.
Yeah.
The next one is an R-rated comedy starring a bunch of adolescent children, Good Boys, about 3 friends who go on a very R-rated adventure. And my son wants to see this, who's 13. I'm like, I don't think so, man. I saw the Red Band trailer, and there's a lot of stuff going on I don't need you learning about.
Right.
Then the last one is a new film with Cate Blanchett in it, who stars as a mom who just doesn't care anymore about what people think. It's called Where'd You Go, Bernadette? I don't know. I don't know a whole lot about it.
I don't know anything about it.
I'm interested in it. Before we leave you, we have to thank our sponsor, Marcus Theaters, The Palace here in Sun Prairie. Thank you for sponsoring the program, allowing us to come into a nice air-conditioned dream lounger and watch all these movies, good, bad, or otherwise. We always appreciate it. Next week, we got a bunch of movies. We have The Art of Racing in the City. That's where you got another movie with a talking dog. This time, Kevin Costner's voicing it.
Oh, yeah.
He wants to be a race car driver.
Oh, yeah?
I thought we got through these talking dog movies with Air Bud back in the day, but they're churning them out now. We also have Brian Banks. We have Dora in the Lost City of Gold. We have The Kitchen and Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I'm looking forward to that one a lot. I like scary movies.
Yeah.
And so that's what we'll be talking about next week, sir. Thank you for filling in admirably.
Hope I did well.
You did great. I don't think Mike needs to come back. Mike, if you're watching, I know you're watching.
Oh, wait. I think Mike says he's one up on you, or no, you're one up on no.
One up on him.
You're one up on him.
Mike and I keep track of how many shows we've done, and I'll never miss a show. Thank you again, though, for tuning in, and thank you for joining me, sir. Until we meet again next week, for Scott, I'm Jamison. Thanks for watching.